pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All signed, or will be. Anybody note any errors or omissions of the batch of minutes that Kelly gave us at our last board meeting?
I'm guilty of not reading them, I'm sorry.
I read part of them and I did not see anything wrong with what I did read.
So we don't want to table them and add this other one to it?
Can we table them? Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're that far behind, really.
When
At least it'd be better if you read them.
I come up with an excuse, I'll let you know.
Well, we'll
Sorry, I'll get it this time.
table the
Yeah,
minutes for
sorry,
till the next meeting.
thank you.
Any adjustments to the agenda? Any announcements? Public comment? New business. Consider and discuss signing no action letter for Fisher Road property R11-28-68. This is something that we talked about
No.
not that long ago.
No, this is a new one.
This is a different one than
This
that?
is a different one. So I'm gonna turn it over to Dave. He can explain it to you.
This is for a house that obtained a building permit this early spring. John Murata is here, and they have the house up for sale, and it was found out by a mortgage survey that the house is 5 feet in the right-of-way setback of Fisher Road, and the deck is 12 feet within the right-of-way setback of Fisher Road, and he was hoping for a letter of no action that could be signed and stamped by the town, and something he could take to the registry of deeds and get recorded in the registry, alleviating him of the setback violation.
So this goes on to say it doesn't do any good going forward, it's just right now, right? The query request, what did I read it? The town of Newry Board of Selectmen makes no guarantees that future town of Newry Board of Selectmen will agree and abide by this decision.
Right.
Why do we put that?
Because you can't bind future select boards. You can't sign the letter binding future select boards. So by law, I mean, you could omit that, but that's still the presumption of the letter anyway.
So if somebody brought this up again later, at a later date, and it was a different select board, you could have a different
Right.
Yeah.
outcome.
So rest of the story is that it was built in error, someone measured wrong. No huge impact on, no one's complaining, no neighbors, it just doesn't fit our setbacks.
So this lot is abutting a different zone.
Yeah.
So this is the division between rural and general zone. And So.
If it was in the other zone, would it
If
be
it was
okay?
in the other
Yeah.
zone, he would be fine, but because he's the first lot in the rule zone, he is required to have a 50-foot setback.
Yes, his neighbors are in the general zone, and his neighbors across the street, his abutting neighbor and neighbors across the street are in the general development and have a 25-foot setback.
Which you'd fit in.
Yes, he would absolutely fit in.
So I guess my only question is, can we fix this? Can we give you more than, we're okay with it, but I don't know what anybody else is gonna do, because that's what this says, right? Is there a way to give them more than that? Do you want more than that?
Is
Well-
it okay to speak now, or should I wait?
Sure.
Yes,
They're okay with it.
so the issue, I have some stuff printed out with the plot plans, you can see it if you'd like to see that. The major issue is I have the house sold, people want to buy it. The title company needed this letter to give the title insurance to the lender, but not necessarily they won't give it to the homeowner. I guess this is two different parts. So, this mistake obviously is all on me. I thought I was in the Peaks Village. I've built, this is the 7th house I've built there. Didn't realize right across the street, right beside me, I assumed, which is the worst thing to do. And I had all the measurements right, we tweaked the house, I did have it right by chance, and I turned the house thinking I still had plenty of room. And obviously, I was wrong, so now I would like to get some help or relief, because this is, to say the least, a major setback.
Right.
And not a very good, memorable 32 years of building to have something like this happen finally. Should happen in the beginning. And the letter, I did see that in the letter, I was wondering about that, how that does translate when you have on there that you're really saying it's okay, but then again, it could just be turned over again. I was a little confused on that. I don't know if it's my place to ask that question.
Yeah, no, we're a fairly informal group, so.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly remove it, but the legal ability or authorization of this board is only for this board, and it cannot bind a future board.
Right.
So,
But would a future board overrule, is what I'm saying, like if...
probably
if the letter-
not.
Right, if the letter was written, this
But
board...
I can't say that it won't.
Right. I was just wondering if it said this board agrees or, this is our finding, end of story. You don't need to bring up that maybe another board wouldn't see it that way, I don't know.
Can I just ask what you're basing the decision on to allow the change?
Sounds like it's a fairly simple mistake. Sounds like we're not talking about a ton of acreage here. I get it, it doesn't fit, letter of the law, it doesn't fit. If it was one lot over, it would. So, always want to be as accommodating as we
So you're
can.
calling it a hardship? I mean, because you don't have anything to point to in the ordinances
Right.
that says you can do this.
Right.
So you gotta have some
Reason.
reasoning for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, at this point, that's my question, can we do better? I don't know what you guys think, or,
I really think the only clean way for us to deal with this issue is to ask the planning board to agree with us and bring an amendment to the UDRO and include all of the lots on this road you're looking for it to be general.
Right, that's,
Right.
was something else I was gonna bring up.
I think that's
Kind
the
of
cleanest
hitting on another
way.
question I had.
Otherwise, you have three different avenues. One is what you're doing right now. Two is you can go to the Board of Appeals and ask for
variance?
a variance through a dimensional variance.
And that would be graded based on the hardship.
And because we are under state law and we haven't passed any of the we're under undue hardship, which you created your own hardship, so it's really tough to get a variance. But if we had other ordinances that allowed us to do a dimensional variance, or there's another one too. it'd be easier for us to give you a variance. It's gonna be tough for you to get that. I think the cleanest way is to ask the voters if they're willing to add these 3 different lots into the general zone, which are all on this road. And they're the only 3 lots on Fisher Road that are not in general.
So if we do this, there's no action. That solves your issue for right now,
Right, just
Not
for
really.
right now.
just for right now.
Well, it does with half of it, yes. It sounds like I've been getting all this fast and furious the last 2 days, I just found out,
Mm.
that I am gonna need a variance for the buyers to be able to get title insurance, to make it clean for a buyer. If it was a cash buyer, wouldn't be a problem.
Well, that would be the thing to do in the future, if the town was willing to change the,
But that's gonna take some time.
yeah.
I mean, this is on the march.
Yeah, even the variance through the Board of Appeals is a 70-day process.
Right,
So it's not an overnight thing.
right.
But, I mean, I think I don't think there's any, if you guys are willing, I don't think there was any malice in what was
Right.
done. If you're willing to sign this, that's great. I think it kind of appeases and maybe keeps your process going. But in all likelihood, this probably won't be reconciled until the 1st or 2nd week of March for us. Either way, even if he wants to go to the Board of Appeals and does all
Right.
of that process, or we go to town meeting and ask the voters to include these 3 lots into the general zoning district.
So this is gonna help him, but it's not gonna fix the problem.
Probably not.
And we can't fix it. We can't fix the problem.
Right, we have to go get a vote from the town.
Right.
or A change of ordinance or a variance or something.
An amendment to we need to amend the UDRO to include these 3 lots
Take
into the
those.
general zoning district.
So by signing this, you'd do as much as you could do now.
Right,
And then you'd have to
right,
work on something for the future.
right. Back to my original question, is there more that we can do? The answer is no.
There's more that we can initiate today. You can ask the planning
Right,
board
okay.
to, look at this issue and see if they're willing to agree to bring it to a vote.
Okay,
You could do it anyway. You don't have to go to the planning board, but historically, all the amendments we've ever done with
right,
the
makes sense.
UDRO have
Right,
always
right.
gone through the planning board.
Yeah, fine.
So I'll make a motion that we sign the no action, and then we ask the planning board to take a look and see if there's something else we can consider doing. And the planning board can decide whether that's Board of Appeals for a variance, or rezoning this, or what the best.
Yeah, he has the right, because he's really looking for a dimensional variance, so he has the right to apply an application to the Board of Appeals without going to the planning board.
Right,
But I really think the cleanest way to fix this problem is to just include those lots into the general.
right. So before I finish that motion, so the deck is 12 feet in?
Yes,
Is that like an easy fix? I mean, picking up a house and moving a house is a big deal.
right,
Moving a deck to the other side is a pain in the ass, but,
right. It's it's a deck, you can tear it off, tear a half of it off. It wouldn't really quite look right with the house, the stairs come down, but, it's
Something-
certainly better than
right.
tearing a house down.
right,
But it's not in the right of way, it's in the setback.
Right.
correct, correct.
If you look at the second page, you'll see where there's, according to the mortgage sketch, there's 3 spots that are
You
encroaching.
have some pictures that you could give them, right?
Yeah, I was gonna give it to them, but it sounds like they might have it.
Well, what I,
Want me to pass this out? This might help. Dave printed these out for me. This is, I believe, what you, everything you're gonna want is in here. That's the original where I drew it for the permit process,
Yeah,
and that's what the mortgage company.
right, this is what we got, right.
So you do have that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a surveyor did it, so we
Surveyor did it
believe
correct.
this is correct, yeah.
Yes. A lot better than.
And the surveyor puts on a disclosure that that's not a true survey. That's just a mortgage sketch. So on the second page, you'll see where the surveyor has essentially 3 points of the houses into the setback.
Right, two points of the houses and 1 point of the deck. And as a percentage of the property, it's 10%?
Yeah. And also, the dashed line is his building envelope, so it was a tight squeeze to
Right.
get it in
Guess we can see it
without.
anyways, yeah. Yeah.
Here's a copy of this. If you want to see.
Go back and make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to grant this no action letter request and have the planning board look into
Rezoning.
rezoning the other 3 lots into general. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous? So does this have to be signed in any special column, Brooks?
Yes, the planning board is working on doing updates on the UDRO at the present time. We expect to have it ready for March town meeting, so that if we get the clear directive, we can discuss it and add it to the general changes. Then
One copy.
Doesn't matter what,
Doesn't matter.
I'd say sign 2 copies, that way the town could have a copy and John could have a copy.
You wanna sign my copy? Or, no, you can figure it out.
And I have a slot for a witness to sign if that's applicable.
you want a witness?
Yeah, and I'll put the town seal on it. Do you want this before you leave?
Yeah, that's fine if you can do
Okay.
that.
Good luck.
Thank you. I'm glad that you guys have been this open about it. You're actually gonna move it forward with the planning board, because I guess the homeowners association was gonna try to do that as well.
Right, so that's. what
Because they're,
we just do.
you know, they all make them fall under the
Same.
Peaks Village, even though they're
Right.
still part of the old part, I guess.
Right.
Well, I learned a lot the last few days about the development.
Sometimes the hard way, right?
Yeah, I guess you're not too old to learn. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Welcome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good luck.
Yeah. Really? But still,
I guess just a quick question, I'm rethinking here. So I should actually wait to see what comes up with the planning board instead of trying to move forward with the appeals board, correct? Is that what I understood? You're already moving in that direction?
Amy will confirm that, but I think that's probably, I think you're gonna, you'd be doing two of the same thing.
Right.
If the
And they
planning
both-
board makes the change, the appeals board would be unnecessary.
And they both going into March anyway, so it's
Right,
not
you're
like
not
anything's gonna be
You're
one
not
gonna be
going
quicker
any
than the other.
faster.
You
There.
might wanna get with Dave.
For a town's copy.
Make sure
Okay.
that he conveys changes correctly. And
Dave conveys correctly to the planning board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get a sign?
I have one, yeah.
Okay, very good.
Okay, that's what I'll do then, I'll just wait instead of,
I think it's,
yeah, it
that's the best.
doesn't make sense to go to
Save
the
us money.
appeals.
And you're not going any faster, so.
Right. Okay.
Liquor license for Frank's Restaurant there at Fall Line Condo. You got that?
That's right. Got it right here. Filled it all out for you.
We need blue on this one.
You need blue.
You need blue,
That's
yeah.
what I got the pen for.
Is there any discussion on this? Why,
Has there ever been any problems there? That's the question I always ask.
Not to my knowledge.
this is a renewal.
This is a renewal. Yeah. And I've been there for more than 5 years. And,
Has it been more than 5? For Frank?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any issues.
Yeah.
There's a
No,
sign
no,
up
no,
on here on the back page.
Just right there, in one of those
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
slots.
It's okay.
No, I don't. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. One of us paying attention.
They probably wouldn't be happy with you.
Jim, with your old job, you used to always carry it.
I always had it there, you got it. Yeah, with my wife on the line there, or whatever it was. I think that was my very first trip to the town was for a liquor license. You know, when Steve was a selectman and it was 7 o'clock in the morning meetings or whatever they were. But yeah, I think that was my first trip here, was trying to get a liquor license, and
Nobody had the right color pen.
nobody had the right, I'm not sure we were into blue pens at that point. That's how long ago, it was 30 years ago, so. Quills, right?
Okay, presentation from Mia Purcell regarding the Newry Board broadband report.
Okay. Well, I am here because Amy asked me to.
I'm here to support it. Lee, I think you
information.
guys get mean to it.
We are tough guys, as you know.
Whoops, sorry. Okay.
Thanks, Mia.
Sure. And I'll give, I've got one from you.
I do have one.
Oh, good, good. Then that means I
I
have
have
it.
a colored one.
Good. So, what I've given you, whoops, dropping everything, is the plan the Axiom came up with from our planning grant. Just to back up, we got a broadband planning grant from the State Connect Me Authority. We got it in June of not this year, but the previous year, so 2017. And we took almost a year to develop it, and we went out and talked to a lot of people, and then we came up with individual plans for each town that was part of the process. And for Newry, I used Amy primarily as a conduit for coming up with some of the goals for the town. But I want to back up and just say that, give you the lay of the land in terms of who your internet service providers are, and you probably know, but you have Spectrum, which provides cable. And in the handout that I've given you, if you look on, it is this page, Broadband 101, there is a description of what it says traditional technology. It says DSL, cable, shared wireless. So that's a very general, but I think pretty succinct description of the difference between DSL, which is over copper telephone lines. First Light provides DSL in this area, and Spectrum or Charter provides cable service. And then on the back side of that is a fiber optics description. And fiber is more what the future is trending toward. But your primary service providers, as I said, are Spectrum and First Light. In Spectrum, you have a cable franchise agreement with them, and your cable franchise agreement was renewed a couple of years ago, and I think it's good through 2030, if I'm correct. And I looked at it, because Amy shared a copy with me, and to expand service, it basically says that they're looking at 20 homes or households per mile. They're trying to look at the subscription rate of people per mile to determine whether it meets their bottom line. Because this is a private utility, not a public utility. So they're looking to make sure that they make money and they can continue.
Do you know if the cable has been expanded?
Yes, it has been.
Does it come up here now? It comes to the office.
Yeah, it
but does
does.
it go up farther up?
Yeah, it goes up to.
Goes up to the branch road.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a map which is confidential. In other words, I can't share it with you. You can't publish it in the newspaper. But Charter gave me this, Charter gave me this 2 years ago. And Charter is Spectrum. And it's actually not completely up to date since it is 2 years old. But this area, I believe right now, is served by them. And then the Powder Ridge is also getting, they're not getting cable, but they're getting fiber. But you
But
can
not
see
from-
where the
not
blue
from
is.
Charter, is it?
That's where
No.
Charter serves right now.
So it is up in Powder Ridge. It's
Yeah.
the-
Well,
it's the
First
peaks
Light,
it's getting
First
at.
Light's got fiber in Powder Ridge. They just did that, right?
Yeah, they did, and I'm guessing it's going up to Skiesta, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That's just a guess. At any rate, I'm giving you an idea of what you have now.
So is broadband in our cable agreement?
No.
Broadband refers to how you get your internet service. It's a general term. It
Right.
includes cable, it includes DSL, it includes fiber, it includes wireless, even satellite. Although satellite is very slow and not particularly reliable. But broadband is how you get your internet service, generally speaking.
But we could have a separate broadband company, according to the contract. Not that it would make financial sense, so anyone would do it, but we could have a separate broadband provider
Yes,
than a cable provider.
absolutely you could.
You could even be your own broadband
Yeah.
provider. If you want. You could put in your own system and then have somebody run it.
Yeah.
Let me keep going with
Yes.
this instead of going down into the weeds right now. So the goals that were established were basically twofold. One was to reach out to the condo associations and find out what their experience is with internet connectivity. And that was done. Basically, most of them have cable. I have a spreadsheet that one of the condo presidents was kind enough to reach out to the other condo presidents. And I can just tell you, generally speaking, when they're all here on the weekends in the wintertime, and they're all using the same system, they're pretty unhappy with their service because cable is shared. Even though it has the capability of providing faster speeds, the more people who are using a shared system at the same time, the slower it gets, okay? Is that making any sense? Okay. So generally speaking, they're not particularly happy, especially when they're here using it. They don't want to pay any more money either. So they want better service, but not having to pay to improve it. So that's your condo association status. We didn't hear from two condo associations, Merrill Brook and Tempest Ridge, but the others, Lock Mountain, North Peak, Brookside, Sunrise, Cascades, Whitecap Village, Fall Line, all reported back on their service. And then the other issue that was raised was better coverage in poorly served or unserved areas of Newry. So Axiom's recommendations, one was to reach out to First Light, who provides DSL service, as I mentioned, and see if they would be willing to expand, particularly their fiber in Newry. And they are doing that on Mount Will Road. I am not aware of their doing it anywhere else except for Powder Ridge. I am not able, unfortunately, to get a lot of details from them about this. I've actually given Amy a contact at First Light, who's in their Lewiston office, and I'm hoping that because she represents the town, I do not, that she can get more information than I can. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of the way it works. But I have asked them repeatedly for updates on what their plans are for this area, and I haven't, unfortunately, been able to get a lot of information from them.
What would be the benefit of the fiber over cable?
Fiber would be a huge benefit. Fiber is more to the future, and what we're talking about, what we'd like to do is dark fiber, which would be unlit fiber, and multiple internet service providers could use it and offer service, which would create greater competition and potentially lower your prices, and at the same time provide you with faster speeds. But fiber offers faster speeds. You can get upwards of 1 gigabyte of speed off of that. That would certainly satisfy your remote workers that you have here in this area. Anyone else who's working long distance. Fiber is good for at least 20 years, if not more. Cable and DSL are not, based on the way they're delivered to the home, to the business. I don't know, it's much more reliable. It's really just the way to go if you can afford it. It's more expensive up front, but on the back end, it's less expensive once you have the infrastructure in.
So is the question kind of like the propane tanks? You can either buy a propane tank and have anybody you want fill it, or you can go to a propane company, they'll give you the tank, but you gotta have them fill it.
Not necessarily. I mean, one way or another, you've got to get the infrastructure here. And
But if we build it, can we then go out to anybody?
yes, and you can ask them if they would provide service, and potentially First Light or Spectrum, I suppose, could. More than likely, you would get GWI and some other companies that actually do lease dark fiber in other places in the state. But it would be open to anyone. And yes.
I mean, we can charge them.
Yes, and over time, it could potentially lower your taxes, depending on how many internet service providers you have and what kind of costs you have, and you're getting you're leasing this, so you're getting money back from the lease. It's a business plan that has to be developed to actually look at the income and the expenses and over the long haul.
There are a couple cases down on the coast too where 3 or 4 communities have gotten together and created a
Yeah.
And
Utility.
built it.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're looking at that, and I was gonna get to that. We're kind of jumping ahead a little
Sorry.
bit, but that's okay. I can jump ahead. We did this plan for each of the towns that I've shared with you, but in the process, and also in the packet that I've given you, you will see a map that has a circle in the middle of it. It shows the area, basically northern Oxford County. It looks like this. Okay. Basically, the blue lines that you see in here, the dark blue lines, are what is called the 3-ring binder. No, it's not like your 3-ring binder from school, but there are actually 3 rings in the state of Maine that are dark fiber. They're large, and they were set up, this was paid for largely with federal dollars back in 2012, I believe. And it was developed to primarily serve educational schools and libraries, public libraries. And a number of the schools around here actually are on the 3-ring binder. But it goes through this area, and what Mark Ouellette, who's with Axiom Technologies, did is he built out the rest of the 3-ring binder with these different colored legs that you see there. And one of those legs, if you can call it that, goes through Newry. And that would be what is called a middle mile. So it's like the wires that you see on the telephone poles, but they don't necessarily connect to your house or to your business. That's a middle mile. The last mile is what connects to a premise, to a household, to a business. And that's what we're looking at now. We've contracted with a company out in Minnesota that does mapping and looks at building out a last mile from this to actual homes, and then looking at what the cost would be. And so we're in the process of evaluating that and then considering what a business model would be to actually make that happen, so that it would financially work, both for the operation and the maintenance of the network and system, but also for the business owners and homeowners who are taking the service. Any questions on that? I know it's a lot to show, and I don't have any details at this point. We're in the process of looking at this. But this is the next phase, beyond looking at what you have now and seeing if you could expand it. What we're finding is we're not able to really appeal to the internet service providers to do a lot of expansion, unless someone like the folks in the Vista area, Vista Drive, they got together and they reached out to Spectrum, and they were able to put in some of their own money to encourage Spectrum to expand in that area. So now they have cable.
So
Not
we're
e-
talking about the Peaks Village.
Yeah, the Peaks, right, thank you. Yeah. I don't know all your
Vista.
areas as
Vista
well
Drive.
as you do, but they were smart in being able to do that, and they also obviously had the resources to do it. Not everybody does, so.
So the question, so what are we being asked to do? That's the,
You're not being asked to do anything right now.
Okay.
I was asked to come and help explain this to you.
Explain what this is, right,
Yeah.
right.
So that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
do, and I'm also
Okay.
trying to tell you where we are going beyond what we gave you as a plan.
yeah.
Where,
Okay.
what we're evaluating and looking at.
What a lot of people have told us in surveys and everything is, I'm fine, I can get Facebook and email, and that's all I'm looking for. And that's okay, but what happens is the more people get on it, the slower it gets,
Right.
whether it's DSL or cable. If it's fiber, the thing is almost infinite. There seems to be no problem with it. You get 1,000 over
Right.
1,000 for your rate, and it doesn't diminish if more people are on it, because it just has that much capability. People have told us, if you're gonna build something, you build fiber because it's gonna work for 20 years. It's the future.
Right.
If you wanna build
It is.
with, DSL is on copper lines, and the copper is old, so that's not a good thing to use. Cable is an intermediate, and it works, but again, we're fine. The condominium example is a good one. It works if you'd like it to.
But here is more information about fiber optics on the back of that Broadband 101 flyer that I gave you. So you can read up on that if you're interested.
Right.
But that really is the way to go. And as I said, we're investigating it, and I really don't have a lot more information to share with you at this time. But
So it leaves you with a question mark over your heads, I'm sure, but the thing is that the future is going to not be any less intense in terms of communication than it is now. So what we're really doing is we're looking to create a utility out of fiber, so that it becomes something that everybody needs. You need water, you need sewer, you need fiber. If you have it, it makes it a whole lot easier, as Mia said, to encourage young families to come here who are looking to be remote workers and work from their home.
Right.
A lot of people come and buy a house just assuming, because they had it in Massachusetts, that they'll have it up here.
Do it.
And they don't even think to ask their real estate agent what the situation is. And until recently, I don't know if the real estate agents are up on it now, or if they'd rather just not know about
It's
it
not on the
because
form.
it's not good.
I can tell you, because I sold my house and there was no information that was requested on what kind of internet service I had. I put it on there because I had cable and wireless in my house. And that it potentially increases the value of your house upwards of 5%.
Brooks?
So it's gotta, I don't know who's gonna pay for it. The towns should at least be aware of it all, so we can figure out when all of a sudden they say, there's a big meeting, come together because we gotta decide what we're gonna choose. You need to have the knowledge.
Right.
To be able to talk about it.
What questions do you have? And,
Got a comment back there in the back.
oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm Brooks Morton, and I'm with Western Hills Access Public Television.
Yep,
We get our funds from the franchise fees.
yep.
During the election time, the cable companies got an FCC rule change where they'll be able to charge back to the towns like-kind services.
Mhm.
So which will basically annihilate our franchise fees.
Yeah,
So there's legislation in Augusta being proposed that will change it, will also change the requirement for a better negotiation, which will allow us as a four-town unit to negotiate one contract with a unified term. My question is, the cable companies is not very friendly to public access television. The local area, through our efforts, has found that a benefit. It can be even more benefit once we switch to offering an internet station. My question is, if we create a fiber network, will the towns be able to, or this entity be able to assess fees from these companies that are getting access, providing their service?
they would lease the model that we're considering, and I want to say considering, would be dark fiber, as I described. So you lease it out. So yes, when you have a lease, you do get a fee back to the towns would, or the entity that owned the dark fiber would get a lease
So-
fees back.
So they could, in theory, fund a public access
In
type
theory, if they chose to, they could. It would not necessarily be a requirement unless they
Right.
wanted it to be.
station. Thanks.
But I want to caution that it costs money to create this utility, and those fees would likely pay off the cost of establishing the utility before.
Probably, yeah. 'Cause-
But if enough people value the local channel, then that could be added into the package.
That's correct, yeah. In theory, your
Yeah.
term is correct.
It'd be new for us, though, to be a utility. I mean, that would be, we'd be in business.
Well, it wouldn't be you as the town of Newry. We're looking at a larger area potentially. We actually divided up, and I think I included that. I guess I didn't. Yeah, I didn't want to go into too much detail because we're still working on, as I said, this design. But we looked at the 4 school districts that are part of this geographic area. And we're potentially looking at the whole area as what would be considered a potential utility.
And
So
there's
it wouldn't just be your town.
There's 27 towns in that
Yeah,
area.
right.
Not all of them may want to be involved.
That is correct. There are many that may not want to be, so we're at the point of really just trying to help figure out what's gonna work, and then we'll bring it out and share it with people once we have a model that we feel makes some sense.
So as a vision, it being an interlocal agreement, what was the recycling group we were with? Can't believe I don't remember that.
OCRR.
Yes, be a similar situation to that.
It would likely be probably not set up in the same way,
Right,
but yes.
right.
I think learning from that experience would make this new board and group work better.
Right. Yeah, live and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of work to do, but I just want to share with you that there are several other areas that are actually doing this now, here in Maine. The Millinocket area, East Millinocket Medway, they have formed a utility, and they are working with Axiom and some other internet service providers. The Blue Hill area in Deer Isle is also doing that, and so are the towns of, I don't remember all of them, but Raymond, Casco, I believe. There are 4 towns sort of in the southern Cumberland County area.
Seems to be wherever there's a retired communications guy who knows how to do it.
Right.
and Gets
Right.
the.
He gets
can
tapped.
explain it to the town enough so that they'll
Right.
take it on.
He's the chair of the committee.
Yeah.
But and these people, I'm sure, are willing to share their information.
Yeah, oh, they are, definitely. But this doesn't happen overnight. I mean, the folks in the Deer Isle area and Millinocket got a broadband planning grant the year before we did, and they're just working on developing their utility now. So this takes time, and it may not even happen at all. It may just not work out, but we want to see if it will. So.
But the interesting thing is that in the Farm Bill, it's on the president's desk and ready to be signed, and apparently is going to be signed. There's, what, $600 million
Well, that's
for
already.
the country?
That's
For
already
rural broadband.
been established, but that's primarily targeted to what is called unserved areas, those that do not have any broadband at all, except maybe satellite. In other words, First Light, Spectrum, Fairpoint do not feel that they can make money off of delivering service in those areas. And that's primarily what those funds are targeted to, and it's a one-time effort. It's not an ongoing program.
But some of our towns maybe could qualify for that.
There's one in particular that could, yeah. But it's not yours,
Kelly's
Parts of
town.
ours could.
Byron.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we got a situation where cable won't go beyond the branch, so we've got people living on Route 26 up above where the cable will go because the cable says it's not valuable. Telephone still goes up there, so I guess they have DSL, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's robust enough to.
Brooks was telling us a
Brooks knows
story
about
about it.
24 hours later.
Still loading?
The reason the guys in Millinocket got all excited was they had somebody move in who was doing a worldwide design business, and they had to download their design onto first a disk and then a zip drive, and put it on a bus, send it to somewhere where they could plug it in and get it out to the world.
Right, yeah. And then they finally got fiber. I hope I haven't confused you.
You didn't confuse us, but I personally was confused before, so.
Okay,
No, I think
this
this
is
is better.
helpful.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah, very helpful, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the time.
Well, if you do have any questions that occur afterwards, Amy knows how to get a
Right.
hold of me. I think you do, Jim.
Yep.
So,
And I don't
please-
mean to scare anybody, but I think that, and I've said this to you in the past when we brought this up, is this may be something you want to consider, you know, helping fund in the future. I'm not saying now, but if a utility is developed and you want to get in on the utility, it would be a capital.
We want to be in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and technology's moving so fast, but
It
if
is,
this is really the solution for 10, 20 years,
it is.
yeah.
What you've got right now is not the future.
Right.
But and if you looked at the numbers and what it would take to put fiber throughout the area, it would scare anybody. But some people are doing it. In fact, one of the towns is Islesboro or somewhere where they decided to go ahead and put fiber to everybody's door. They're paying $30 a month for it.
Yeah, Islesboro and Cranberry Isles.
Yeah.
Both have two islands, more than 2 islands, actually, have fiber. Yeah.
So
But
they're-
they had to do it with the lights too. So So you have to really associate this with like electrifying rural areas
Right.
of
Right.
Maine.
Right.
You know, if the utility wouldn't come, government had to help it come,
Come,
so.
right.
Yeah.
Right,
it's-
understood.
But what happened in Cranberry Isles, just so you know, is they had a wireless provider, and that wireless provider pulled out. And they were like, oh my God, you know, we have
Now what do we
nothing
do?
now. And that's when they said, we're putting our money on the line. And so they actually were gonna bond for a project, but Axiom worked with them to apply for a USDA grant through the Community Connect program, and they were actually able to get the funding through that program to pay for the cost, because they didn't have service when they applied. So that's kind of a worst-case scenario, that
Right.
you have you have service and then you lose it. But in their case, it worked to their advantage overall.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, thank you for the time. You told me to make it short and
Thank
sweet.
you.
and
It was
it's-
You did good, man, you did good.
Thank you.
Sam's got it all.
Yeah, right.
Consider
So
and
read the paper
discuss
next week and you'll figure it out.
action plan for Heart and Soul.
Did everybody bring that?
I don't know if anyone has it with them or not, or has
Did
had
you
a
bring
chance to
your
look
heart
at
and
it.
soul paperwork? Gary,
Gary.
did you even read it? It's been sitting in your truck the whole 2 weeks, I know it.
But at least you didn't
I didn't
lose
say
it,
I
and
looked
that's
at it, I just said
important. Yeah.
I did read that.
You did
I
read
did read
that?
that,
Good.
yes.
Yeah,
I did
Jim
read
and I
that.
have had a
Yeah,
chance to
we've
talk
had-
about it a
We've had
little
some
bit.
conversations.
So what you have in your hands, whether you've read it or not, is the first draft summary of all of the work that we've done for Heart and Soul for the past 2 years, and even going back to the very beginnings of this project in 2013, when a group convened to talk about the Bethel Station lots and what should be done about them. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. You can do that in your own time. But basically what it does is it talks about the background, why the town decided to do it, what the initial project goals were from the Gear Up team, the beginning of an action plan, and then it breaks down the 4 phases by what was done in each phase. So that all ends up as the Heart and Soul summary statements, where we had 7 different workshops with 30 different people that we held in the different towns at different times. And at each one, we picked different themes that presented themselves more often in the stories and in the information that we collected from people, to try to figure out what mattered most to people. So we took over 3,000 statements and condensed them down into the 9 statements that we have for you here. The things that rose to the top that people value in the area were community spirit, the economy, and that's sort of an aspirational statement. Education, environment, the geographic location, the recreational assets and activities, the healthy community, which is another aspirational statement, livability, people, and small town feel. And these were meant to be regional statements, so they're very broad-based, and we attempted to make them as inclusive as possible without making them each a page and a half long, which was pretty challenging. So this is sort of the succinct summary of what we heard from the people who live here. That leads into the last part of the packet, which were 85 different ideas that we brought to 2 community events and had people participate with clickers to vote on feasibility and the impact of the ideas. And from that, we have a rough draft action plan.
And these ideas came from,
They came from the community. There were 300 something ideas that were roughed out. Jim has access to an Excel sheet of the original ideas. They varied from I want a KFC to I want Route 26 to bypass my house. So they were like all over the place. So as a team, what we did was
There's a few one-offs in there.
Yeah, there are a
few very
couple.
personal ones.
Yeah. We tried to like clean it up
Right.
and take
You
out
did.
some
You
that
did-
were
you did a very
like
good
just
job.
totally oddball. So we interviewed a bunch of kids, and the very first action item, kids said they want places to hang out with their friends, they want an arcade, they want Big Adventure Center to reopen, they want a community center, a hockey rink. So we just broaden that into create social clubs for young people. So the work that I am doing now is trying to find leadership in the community, people who are willing to take on some of these actions or organizations that they might fit in with their mission and have them commit to do the work. See if we can help them with any funding resources and come up with a long-term projects, medium-term projects, and short-term projects. And some of them have actually already been done. So today I got an email from Marcel Pollock. As of December 12th, the school board had made one of their goals for next year to improve communication between the public school and the community as a whole. So that's the school board's goal, and that was one of the action items. And then they came up with a whole list of things that they were going to do as a school board to better inform the people who live in the community about what's happening in the public school system. So I was like, cool, I could check that one off. Now we've only got 84.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just sort of a broad summary of the big pamphlet I gave you, or big document. And again, this is a draft. I'm gonna make something prettier with pictures and stuff in it eventually, once it's all figured out. So right now we're moving on to the final phase of the project, where we transition from planning to stewardship and implementation for the long term. And one of the ways that Wharton recommends that we do that is to embed the heart and soul statements into town planning and to organizational planning. That led to the draft resolution that I shared with you, and I have shared this with Woodstock, and I shared the second version of it that Jim got to see with Greenwood. So far, I think all I'm asking you to do is consider how the work that we've put into this project can help you as a committee in the future, how you can make future decisions based upon some of this work, and whether or not you're willing to, in some way, be it formal or informal, agree to that. The feedback that I've gotten was that originally the draft proposal was too legalese.
Right.
So
Kat and I actually met, and I've had the chance to go through it a couple of times.
that's the second one.
I support this wholeheartedly. I think you guys did a great job. I think the information is awesome. It's big. It's good. The challenge I have is, I think the term was adopt.
Yeah.
And when the term, she's asking the town, the Heart and Soul is asking the town to adopt what Heart and Soul found. I don't think we as a board can adopt anything. We could certainly put that in front of the voters to adopt, but I don't know that that's the right action with this, because it is such, you guys did a great job of taking okay, I need those trees in front of my house gone, so that's what Heart and Soul should do. The real personal ones you get out of there, but it's such there's no teeth to it, it isn't great, sure, I want to do that. You got any money? You got any time? You got you got resources you got to commit to make this happen? This is just put together as these are great ideas, and now we need to get some people to put some time and energy and money behind it.
And we're not asking the town to do any of the ideas, just to clarify.
Yeah, I just struggle with adopt. And you guys probably didn't have a chance to read this, but I struggle with adopt. I think support, congratulate,
But at this point, there has to be a person with passion, a PWP, as I always say, that will take on each one of those things.
Right. And we hope that happens.
Right.
I hope that happens. But when you use the word adopt, to me, that's something that we stand in front of town meeting, and the town can the town could certainly decide that we as a town of Newry want to adopt this. Basically, we've just committed to a regional comprehensive plan, because that's what this is. And in my mind, this is a regional comprehensive plan, which there's no such thing as a regional comprehensive plan, because we don't vote as a regional body.
No, but when they started this project, they decided to do it as a region.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's what we were trying to do. And the language from that document was borrowed from a town that went through the Heart and Soul process, but it was a singular town. It wasn't 4 towns.
Right.
And townships.
Yeah,
And
and it's
to-
a singular
like, to be
town
clear,
that paid for it.
the town
through
paid for it.
tax dollars.
Yeah.
But you kept track of where the statements were coming from, right?
I have where all the information that we collected
Yeah.
come from.
So you could tell Newry what the people in Newry said.
Yeah, I have all of that on
So
Google Drive.
maybe that's
If you
what
want to
you-
look at that, I absolutely can
Yeah.
share that with you. But it's
I think-
messy.
I think, yeah.
Personal statements.
I'm supporting the bigger picture. I'm with the bigger picture. I mean, if you have gas in your car, you didn't buy it in Newry. You know, if you want to go skiing, you're coming to Newry or Greenwood. You know what I mean? There's just, so there's, we're in this together. I know you're a supporter of that, and I absolutely believe we're a supporter of that. I don't know I really want to help. I just don't know how to put it in words that gives you what you want, that supports what Orton is looking for, that really has, that says something, that says more than, yeah, nice job.
What if we just change the word adopt to something different? I mean, we can shorten, that.
Right.
That is a draft. That is
Right.
meant to be,
Yeah,
and I want your feedback, I want your opinions.
yeah.
And if every single town that participated in this wants to do something different or doesn't want to do anything at all, that's okay. The hope was that this would help guide future planning. To the extent that it's successful, that's yet to be determined.
Right. So whereas the Board of Selectmen found that the adoption of community heart and soul statements will provide guidance when applicable in preparation of future policy and strategic plans of the town. Whereas the town Board of Selectmen will think about.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's, how do you, but you can't, that
How about
doesn't
recognize?
fit. Recognize, consider?
Consider the heart and soul statements and future planning. I think that it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what you got here is a body of information that came from people who live here. And as I say, you can get the stuff just from people directly from Newry if you want. That is information that we don't normally have when we sit down to write a plan. You know, we just say, well, the normal way of coming up with a comprehensive plan is you give it to the planning board, or you give it to the comprehensive planning.
John
committee.
Maloney comes and tells you what it
get 4 or 5
is.
people together, they write the plan, and then they get it all worked out, and they take it to the town, and the town says no, and people get mad.
Right.
So this was an attempt to say to the voters, to the people, what is it you'd like to see?
Right.
And then work it from the bottom up.
So what if the words were, the Board of Selectmen recommend considering the findings of the heart and soul?
What do you
Consider
two think
recommending.
about it?
So we are recommending that as you are moving forward with these things, you ought to take a look at this stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're not saying you have to. We're not saying you got to, but we think, and I'm doing all the talking, and I'll stop. But I think we should consider recommending that people take a look at this. There's a bunch of good information here. Before you go any further, you ought to take a look at, I should be wagging that document.
It's heavy.
A lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
And some are happening. The Woodstock Select Board got really excited about replanting trees on 26. Sean Coffin was like, I didn't tell anybody, but that was my idea. And then they
Maybe it
talked
was,
about
and
how to
maybe it
get
wasn't.
DOT money for it, so,
Any of the ones that go through, there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna claim, oh, that one was mine.
yeah.
I said enough.
So this is just my first attempt, so I'm asking you as a select board, what makes sense to you? Because we did this to help you.
Right.
But like Jim says, what we think and what other people in the town think could be 3 different things, but I agree wholeheartedly that we should recommend that at least they take a look at it. I mean, because you look down through this and there's a lot of things that people have mentioned and stuff that would be beneficial to tons of people.
People bothered to come out, people bothered to
Tell
say
their
their
story.
piece, people, right, you know what I mean? Bothered's the wrong word, but,
We went mostly to them.
Yeah.
Did you?
We went to some funky places to
Yeah.
talk to people. I hung out at the dump for an afternoon.
That's a good place.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes, she went to Robert Lowell's Chainsaw Shop.
Oh,
Sat with
cool.
the board of directors.
What time of day was that? Because you could have got 2 or 3 different versions.
It was like 2, it was in the afternoon, yeah. I've been there a few times since then, there's,
Yeah.
a
But
good
you
crowd
know,
that
the-
filters in and out.
The cool thing would be for people, and I don't know how you do it, whether you gather a group of people together or you pass it out individually, but just go through the list of 85 and make some checks. What would you like to see in Newry?
Yeah.
Just check off a few things, and then you cut that 85 down to something smaller.
For example, I put my name next to the broadband.
Right.
It's in there.
Right, so that's another one we can
Yeah.
knock off the list, sorry.
Right.
I forgot to
But he's
mention that.
spearheading that.
We all come up with ideas and things we think we should do, and, sometimes there's not a whole lot of data to back that up.
Yeah.
Although this isn't like studies and feasibility studies and all that sort of stuff, it is a look into the thoughts of the community when we ask the question, here's what people said.
Yeah, precisely.
And we did vet those statements over the course of the summer.
Yeah.
At events, I brought them to Malayakat Day, I had people vote on them, we had an online survey.
Right.
They've circulated around, and people haven't had much of an objective to them. The biggest objective was that they were too broad.
Right.
Which they're broad because it's regional.
Right.
It's not Newry, let's all get together and tell our story. It's not Bethel, let's all get together and tell our story. It's not Greenwood.
Well, but we're not all that far apart. It's
No,
just that
but you
it's not-
can't make it super specific
No,
when
right.
you have
No. Let's-
multiple sovereign entities trying to work on those
Yeah.
We could move Route
projects.
26 away from everybody's house.
That was a legit,
It'd be a crooked road.
yeah, that was something someone wanted.
And then it'd be in front of somebody else's house that doesn't want it.
They could probably do it in Woodstock. Maybe that's what they
Yeah.
Start 26 at the top of
Good
Miracle
Bible.
Hill and
They
then
did
you get the Newry corner.
There you go.
It's probably those people
Make a big
who are
bridge.
like,
You know, I
in
checked
the
that one day
house.
with the GPS and the mileage is shorter
Yeah, there is a bypass.
on the
plan.
GPS from Newry
Yeah.
corner than it is driving it
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
by quite a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
So are
stuff to
you
fill in.
more comfortable with the
Feel to-
consider to think about?
Recommend, consider.
Recommend.
Recommend looking at, recommend.
Considering, recommend,
Recommend that the town
consider.
consider it.
Including in your thought process, a look at this.
Yeah.
Right, recommend, consider sounds really.
So who are you talking to in that case? Are you talking to the planning board? Are you talking to all the various boards and committees?
I think every board.
Yeah, I think, in this, how long is this good? 5 years, 10 years?
Well, that's part of the implementation and stewardship that we haven't figured out, but part of the work is to re-examine this at some point to make sure
Right.
that it's still relevant.
It'll make some sense.
Yeah,
Right.
so if there's like a natural disaster and all of a sudden the landscape is forever changed here, hopefully
Right.
that doesn't happen.
I mean,
And certain things wouldn't be relevant anymore.
20 years ago, DSL was cool?
Yeah.
Was it 20?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, oh yeah, remember you get.
Yeah, right, we dial up.
Dial up,
Dial
yes.
up.
So
When you got DSL, you thought you were doing good.
when we bought Crossroads in 2001, the credit card machine, hang up the phone, I got a credit card.
Yep,
And that was the technology. That was,
yep.
well,
And it still is in some places,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
right.
But that's gradually changing.
Yeah, and again, it's asking people to consider the shared values of the region, not for people to, take an idea, run with it, but we want them to.
So should it be presented, because this certainly looks very legal,
Mm-hmm.
should it be presented more as a paragraph, comment?
You tell me.
You're right at the way you'd like to see it.
I'm happy to redraft it, however.
I don't know that that's
However you
right.
would like me to.
I don't know that that's,
We sign resolutions all the time.
yeah.
For Childhood Cancer Month, we sign
Yep.
a resolution. It's very legalese. You really don't really understand it when you read it. Therefore,
Yeah, but
therefore.
You're not planning on anybody coming in that's asking you to do a job as a result of it.
Right.
In this case, you are.
It's the same
No,
thing.
we're not, we're just asking them to consider the statements.
Yeah.
No, but you really,
statements.
somebody's gonna have to step up and do something with them, or they won't have.
So what's your concern, Jim, with
With
if
the-
that language stayed as it is?
Adopt is overstepping so two concerns. One, adopt is overstepping our bounds. As a select board, that's for the town. The town adopts stuff.
Okay.
We're simply a board that carries out the will of the people. Second, for me personally, look, wait a minute. There's no meat on this bone. Nobody's got any skin in the game. This is simply thoughts, which are awesome. It's free thinking. Let's go. I'm talking off the top of my head here, which is a good way to start, but not anything that I would want to say, we're going to do this, because it's like the first meeting to create something, and we're taking those ideas and running. Because I think this is really first meeting stuff, and I know it didn't happen in one meeting, but it doesn't have no one has any skin in the game.
Yeah, you're right there, but thing is, what I think what it's good for is to look down and think, oh, wow, I never thought of that.
Right.
Oh, what would
Right.
happen if we did that?
Right.
Not the whole 85, but one thing.
And it supports, if someone has an idea that they want to do blank, well, did Heart and Soul even see that? Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, because people weren't even considering it at the time, but it's something that could back up going, yeah, hey, look, when 4,777 interviews were done in, 2015, 16, 17, 18, here's what people said. I'm for it. I am definitely for it. I just don't know how to put the right words, and I get that. Recommend
I think
considering.
you're on the right track, though, with the notion that the town boards should consider it as a piece of information
Yeah.
So
when they're
I guess
in their
I'm
deliberations.
a little confused, because I thought really what we're asking you here is, we got these value statements, and we want you to consider these value statements when you're making future decisions.
Yeah.
That aren't the 85 ideas
They're
necessarily.
not the 85 ideas. These are value
value
statements
statements.
that came from all of the interviews, that came up regularly through the interviews.
So I didn't get that. Thank you for pointing that
So
out.
that's where I think we're asking you to say, we want you to consider those value statements when you're making future decisions about planning or, anything.
If you want a scenic byway.
You want a scenic byway, does this really fit into our community?
So when I read it, my mind jumped to want to look at the 85 ideas.
No.
So I don't know if that's because I misread this, or does it say we want you to consider the
The statements and the ideas are separate components of
Right.
Yeah,
a
but what
plan.
does the thing they're being asked to sign?
It asks that they adopt the heart and soul statement.
Statements. Okay,
In
so
future plan.
I was confused about that too.
And
So it's
I
the 9
apologize.
statements.
No, I may have misread it. Whereas Newry, Bethel, Greenwood, Select have engaged in a 2-year innovative community effort to find out what matters to its citizens and have developed community statements for the community. And then it goes on to whereas public input, informed statements, of course, of community engagement, public activities, personal interviews, storytelling, recommends forwarding these. So, it says it. I didn't read it.
Yeah, we're just talking about statements.
Whereas the Mahoosic Heart and Soul Steering Committee voted unanimously on October 11th to recommend forwarding these proposed community heart and soul statements to the Town Board of Selectmen for formal adoption.
It's just the statements, and we don't have to use the word adopt,
Yeah,
For consideration,
yeah.
or whatever you want.
or whatever you want. But this is, we value the
Statements.
environment we live in, we value
Right.
healthy
Statements.
living, we value technology, we value a sense of community, small town,
So
and
statements is all through this, and I didn't read it. I read it, I didn't, you know what I mean? I read it, I didn't see it. My mind had jumped to.
Well, I gave
the
you it
85
in this
things.
giant packet at the same time.
Yeah, no, I've read it, but since then, I've read it a couple of times. We sat and talked about it. You sent it to me again, I read it again, and that statement piece went right over my head.
That's why she's here.
Right, someone's got to figure straighten this out. And maybe it's because I knew too much about the comments.
yeah.
If I didn't know the comments, if I only had the statements,
Oh, okay.
You're reading too much into it.
I'm
So
reading too
maybe
much.
less
I'm
information.
assuming, I'm on to page 2, haven't, you know.
Don't make it any more difficult than it has to be.
Read the last few pages of the book and then go back. you
Yeah.
know?
So, how do you feel about it now?
I still don't think we can adopt it. But I'm good with
Considering it,
considering it, let me come up with the words, it's cool stuff, yes, you know.
I mean, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's the language you want to use.
Just use the set of statements as a part of your deliberation whenever you're talking about
Right.
the future of the town.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe one of these is just that it really clarifies that what we are asking of the town is that you consider these statements when considering further actions.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah, because when you say a dog, it's almost like an ordinance, that's what it's gotta be, you know?
Right. Yeah,
But you can't bind future boards.
No, I understand that, but
right.
But yeah, I get you. As long as we're all happy, let's just be happy.
That's the 10th statement.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to try to find one more paragraph or one more piece in here that clearly states this is about, I know it says statement all the way through, but is there another way to, is there one more whereas that says this is all about, you know, this is all about the statements, that what matters to our community. This is all about that. Because that's what we're asking. And maybe we need to drop a couple of whereases and put in what we are asking of the town, what we are asking of the select board is that you consider these statements when deliberating further actions.
it's perfect for me. I mean,
And
that's
that may
what
be the
you-
whole, that may be the
Yeah.
whole thing.
That's what it says, but
Yeah.
it's got a lot of words.
It's got a lot of words.
A lot of
Yeah.
it is setting up how it all came about, but you could reduce some of that too and say, you know, after we went through this 2-year process and talked to 400 different people and all this stuff, and boiled it down, these were the things that were important
Meaningful.
Right.
and
So think about that.
were meaningful.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about that. When you're making further decisions, think about that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's all we're asking.
that's all they're
I
asking
think
for.
that's right.
so if I were to redraft it and have it just be more simplified, could I present it back to you in January?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to make you keep running here, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm happy to help.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna call you Friday, but I didn't wanna, I'm not trying to push the whole
Yeah,
resolution
no,
thing
no.
that hard.
No, you're good.
It's just part of the
You're good.
process.
It's important, it matters.
Yeah.
It's,
And having town officials say, you know, we do support this,
Right.
helps, it helps give it, maybe not teeth, but legs or gums.
yeah, yeah, right. We gotta gum this thing.
Yeah.
have the other towns adopted this same thing?
Not yet. I gave it to Woodstock to read. I basically went at the end and gave them the packet. I'm gonna check back in with them in January. Greenwood has it, Kim Sparks has read it, and Amy Chapman have read it as it's written, as you have it there in that second draft. Amy helped me write that. So she seemed to think
Good
that
with
they
it.
wouldn't have an issue with it, but I'm going to speak to them again in January.
How about Bethel?
Bethel doesn't have a town manager, so I'm a little hesitant about what to do there. So I'm gonna talk to Peter Southam and see if I can just talk to them a little in January.
Good.
It's a holiday, so,
Right, people are not gonna be focused here for a minute.
yeah.
Right, it's smart. And there's no pressure to have this done by a certain date.
No, the original pressure was the 2-year process. My contract is supposed to end January 1st,
Right.
but it's been extended a little bit to continue with the work.
Yep, good.
We liked her, so we decided.
Good call.
Keep her.
Yeah, good call. Right.
So if we keep stalling, you wanna keep coming?
Yeah.
At least I'm not asking you for
I
money
mean,
this time.
Like 25, 30 years and you're good, or?
Yeah.
I think it's great stuff. And thank you for bearing with me in my inability to read, I guess. But, you know,
It's the process by which you got wisdom.
yeah. Yep.
Any other questions about that stuff, guys? Maybe you've been here. Thank you.
Stripped up plastic things.
if Kat has to come back, we should make her first on the agenda.
Yeah.
That should be like a rule.
Well, let's just get this thing dialed in,
Right,
so
right.
I can be like, here, will you guys sign it? And you'll be like, yeah, we'll sign it.
When you make people come back like 3 and 4 times, they ought to go.
Once you get in that position, I think it'll be better for
Red
everybody.
letter.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, guys.
good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
How you operate.
So I guess now we're down to consider and discuss date of first meeting in January.
Alright, so the first day meeting is supposed to be New Year's Day. We won't be here, so we need to pick another day.
Week later?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So the second week would be Tuesday, the 8th?
Sure.
So we'd meet on the 8th and the 22nd? Right, is the 22nd on there?
Yep.
No, it would be the
Well, you got
8th
one on
and then
January
it would.
22nd.
Oh. Is that the 3rd?
The 22nd is actually the 4th, but we'd be meeting on the 2nd and 4th. There's actually 5 Tuesdays in January. So we'd be meeting on the 2nd and 4th.
So if we moved it that,
So I get confused if it's Monday or Tuesday. It's supposed to be the 1st and the 3rd. It's supposed to be,
First and the 3rd, so that would be January 1st and January 15th.
yeah.
So what I'm suggesting is we go, for that month, we go January 8th, and rather than go 8/15,
Yeah,
we go 8/22.
all right.
That's only a suggestion.
All right. I have absolutely no problem with that, but I would say probably the following Tuesday is like the 29th. We'll probably need to meet and start doing budgets. That's really not a happy time, but you know, we need to get it in,
Yeah.
get it going.
Yep.
Does that work for everybody? Or do you have something going on that Tuesday, or
Which at this point in time,
Yeah.
as long as it's not snowing?
yeah, I will have to step aside for a 5 o'clock meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so 8th and 22nd.
Can you throw me on the agenda for the 22nd, please?
Yes.
First on the agenda.
First on the agenda.
First.
Then we'll call the meeting to order.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Kat. See you later.
Have a good night.
okay, unfinished business. Somewhere here, we gotta consider and discuss second quarter expense report.
So I did add the percentage spent in the last column. You asked for that. I delivered. So it shows the line items and where we are in correlation to where we are in the year, which is, we are very close to being 50% of the way there, because I don't expect us to do an accounts payable next week. We're gonna do one on Thursday because Laura will be the only one, Laura and Dave will be in the office, and either one of them.
Miscellaneous has got quite a lot over here.
Yeah, that, I need to remember to fix that, but that's our Staples account. It's automatically set up to go into miscellaneous, and I need to change it to supply.
Piece of that when you start looking at percentages,
Yeah.
it's a couple $100.
I know it, I just
Yeah, but
been
it happens
looking at
to be-
the, with
yeah, right.
123%.
Right, it's like, wow, what is
Yeah.
it? But you do the math and we're a couple $100.
Yeah.
So, July, August, September, October, November, December, then December we're 6 months in.
We're 6 months in. And really, most of our accounts payable has already been applied. We might have, $4,000 or $5,000 worth of accounts payable.
We know the road stuff is gonna happen. Road maintenance is gonna happen in front of us. Anything pop off the page to you, Amy?
Well, you know, like all the capital expenses we've made, like we got the door and the floor, that all comes out of municipal building, so it looks like we're overspent at 297%, but that is really in a GL, but I need to spend it out of an expense and then make the
Yeah.
adjustment. Same thing with the fire department. If you look at the fire department, it looks way overspent, but that truck came out of, or a lot of the things that went on the truck came out of that, so that needs to be adjusted as well.
We need to be slow about adjusting it.
Yeah, if he sees it, he'll be freaking out. Sanitation looks really low, but they're very slow at billing us, so I think the last bill I had was October, so we still have a couple of months of sanitation to pay. And I just want to get a chance to look at it so that,
Nice to know where we're at approximately halfway through the year.
yeah. And the auditors did say we do a really good job of not budgeting super high amounts. We're pretty much spot on. We don't carry over a ton, so we're not over budgeting and then
Taxing people for
taxing people
money
for
they're not
stuff we don't.
spending.
Yeah.
That's good.
How much more county tax we got coming up?
So I believe the county budgeting process is getting wrapped up here. And I've heard through the grapevine, and I do not know if it is true or not, so I do not want to be quoted on that, but I heard that there will be increases.
I'm sure there will be.
Last year there was a bunch, right?
Yeah, $100,000. Paying over $500,000 in county taxes now.
A lot of money for police force.
We could have our own. But we still have to pay them.
I know there's more to it than that.
I mean, they'd still make us pay the $500,000, but we could have our own police force for $500,000.
It's about what we're getting out of them. Just bad service.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
Administration's report. Administrator report.
There you go.
So it's just so far, just the two papers have been working out.
To my knowledge, anybody else took papers out while I haven't been around?
Now, there's nothing, there's no, off school board would be another time.
It's in June. Is Bonnie out for a school board, or is it Dave?
2 years? 3 years? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I guess we don't really have to worry about it right now, but
No. So the only thing we will have to do in preparation for the election is have the public hearing. we need to schedule a public hearing for stopping the withdrawal process question.
Yep.
I don't know how close you want that to.
Yeah, enough time so people are informed going in, that's not, wait a minute, didn't we vote on that? I thought we already stopped this, you know what I mean? It's, for us, we're right in the middle of it, so we get it, but I wonder if this, we're voting on this again? You know, where it's really the first time we're voting on that. You know, we voted on funding formulas, we voted on, but this is the first time we're voting on stopping it.
Oh, no, we voted on stopping it before,
Oh, yeah.
When?
27.
but they kept going, they kept
Yeah,
saying they wanted to keep going because it's like dangling that carrot out over
Right.
there. So I think,
Did we go to the ballot?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yep,
I
we
think
did.
we've done it 2 or 3 times.
Twice since I've
So,
been here.
right, so this is the first time we're going with a new funding formula.
Right.
Right.
Right, the other time stopping it, we just stop it, nothing's
Right.
changed, just stop it. Yeah.
And the only other thing I have to add is Medicare is going up, and they gave a copy of the budget as well as the explanation letter. But they're not going up until July 1.
Next year.
About $1,000 or thereabouts.
500. $495.
Yeah.
So we need to address the complaint at the gas station? I don't know if that's
We
a
got-
public conversation, but we need to.
Somewhere here under new business, we got Robert Lowell's possible appointment too. We slipped over that one.
You must have a, you must
That was
have a
last
hold one,
meeting.
because we already did that.
Well, it's the one that was on the table.
This is the one. This is your one. I think that's a select.
Those are the
That's
meeting
December
minutes
4th.
from last
Oh, okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually got done for the next meeting, you see that?
Well, I know we talked about it.
Good job, Kelly.
That's why I think we're going the way it said on there. But it said that, no, that was a D, yeah, all right, never mind.
Okay.
Anything on this code officer's report?
Any road complaints because there hasn't been any snow.
Right.
We had some yesterday.
Yeah.
I hope we don't get any snow for a few days. My truck is still not working.
Get in trouble, give me a holler.
Get that thing fixed. I want snow.
Yeah.
Ready. Friday looks ugly.
It does.
I think we have, a lot of people want snow because I have grandkids that like to ride them damn snowmobiles.
Yeah. It's gotta be good, right? Right at the moment? Not frozen up yet?
But hard as a brick.
Well, we'll see what it does after this
I won't be
weekend.
taking my sled out quite yet.
I mean, some of it did freeze, a little bit of it last
Did it?
week, but,
Yeah.
Heats up, that's why.
but the thing, problem is now everything's so solid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing there to lubricate anything, so everything's, but. So you got a new back door, but the stair gates are still ordered, they haven't come in yet?
No.
And then after he gets this, he's gonna go down and start the Grange Hall. I think the Grange Hall has been kind of busy lately.
Seems like every weekend there's been some guys in there.
I think it's for snowmobiles.
Oh, they have been in the Grange, they just parked in the parking lot?
Yeah.
I don't know, because these were just cars, looked like they must have owned I don't know if it-
Brad did his Christmas there this weekend, something a couple other weekends
It must be
ago.
done, they're gonna do theirs pretty quick. Don't they usually do a
We
Christmas?
usually do Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
On a different week, but Laura didn't rent it this year, so I don't know if they decided to do something different, or.
Well, no, it's a good thing that it's being used,
Yeah.
but
And then I got, somebody called about renting it for an office party that they haven't called back. And tomorrow's your Christmas party for the fire department.
That is happening tomorrow,
Yeah.
5 o'clock?
yeah, I'm not sure I like that time.
Is it 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
I missed that. I knew it was being rescheduled, I didn't know when.
It's tomorrow.
Okay.
What about this complaint for the fire department?
I think you probably need to talk to your chief and the person that was complained about.
That's my sentiments too.
I
And
think-
I'm wondering if the chief only has the information that was given to him by the,
Well, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop in and see if I can talk with the cashier or maybe someone that was there. And see if I can, you know, I don't wanna go by hearsay too
Right,
much.
no, wait.
I have a, I was at the fire station when it came back, and it was kind of a sloughed off, but he made the comment that he pulled up and they didn't flip the pump on because we have a credit card, so you have to go in and all that stuff. And I guess he didn't go in to do it, or I don't know, but they didn't do it, and then they went in and told him that he needed gas, and they said, well, is it cash or what? You know, and then he said, oh, there's a credit card for the fire department. Some words were spoken evidently. Now, he didn't tell us that, but I was there when he came back. And it didn't sound like a big deal when he came back, but it was probably the impression that he was giving us.
Right. I mean, they should have been able to tell it was a fire truck,
Yeah.
but maybe not, it could have been
Well, they could have been
3 or
on the
4 other
outside
cars
pumps, yeah.
blocking him. So, I think, you know, I think for my own benefit,
Right.
I'm gonna stop and
Or-
inquire.
And I think we owe the person an opportunity to say,
Oh, yeah.
here's my
That's
view of
right.
this.
I mean,
And
I
I
don't-
think, you know, before we jump to any conclusions.
No, I'm not jumping here, and like I said, when it come back, he mentioned the fact that he pulled up to the pump, and they didn't turn the pump on, and they had to go in, and which, you normally have to do that anyway, when you go to get fuel, they have to go and tell them to,
Well, it
turn on
depends,
the pump.
you know.
Well, it depends on who's on, but if there was somebody
If you
new.
drive up with that big truck, they're gonna notice. it.
Yeah.
And they
But
usually
this-
turn it on.
This was the new truck.
Right.
So it wasn't
So-
a big truck, you know, which supposedly went in service last night, but when he came back from the gas station, the check engine light came on, so
Huh.
I don't know if they, 600 miles on it.
It's brand new, right?
Yeah.
Probably didn't tighten the gas cap or something.
I don't.
Probably.
But anyway,
Probably, yeah.
You know, some
And there was-
silly little.
Yeah, anyway, made the statement to the fact that he'd had trouble in there. The cashier didn't want to accommodate him, I guess, the way he wanted to accommodate, but knowing the guy that's there, he flies off the handle pretty easily. It's one of the guys that works up to the mountain.
So, that's enough said.
That, I wasn't, did I just say, you know, no, I didn't.
No?
So I think just for my own,
I think we just,
Think I will
I think you need to give him an opportunity
Right.
to, you know, give his side of the story and then,
but
This is not- we're not
we
gonna leave
also
this-
find out if the cashier was there,
Yeah.
you know, their
Right.
side.
Get an independent,
Right.
someone who's not involved. Yeah, that'd be great. If we can figure that out, that'd be great.
But,
You can probably find out who the manager is and see if they would be willing to let you.
well, I'm not sure it's a good thing, but if my tenant was working there at Subway, I'm sure she knows about it.
Well, there's another, maybe, yeah, that's,
I'm
Right.
sure the word got around.
yeah. It could be much to do about nothing.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we represent
it
ourselves.
certainly bothered the person that witnessed it enough to call
Call,
me
right,
and
right.
make the complaint.
yeah.
Well, the thing is, they may not have seen him there if there was other vehicles there.
That's right.
'Cause
His
it-
interview's on the outside
Right.
pumps.
So, regardless, I mean,
Right.
you don't,
Yeah, yelling
you're
at someone.
representing the
yelling-
town.
We don't even know what happened, but yelling
Right.
at someone is never the,
No,
never
that
the way
doesn't
to
start
go.
the conversation off well.
Yeah, right.
know if you wanna do it the 8th, well, we'll find out what we find out, I guess,
You
then.
can ask a few
Then we gotta
questions
ask
tomorrow,
him
too.
if he's willing to come. That's what you need to do,
Right.
is figure out whatever you can figure out and then ask him to come.
To get his version. And that's executive session.
Then you have to offer it to him, yes?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Gets offered, yep.
Yeah.